Good evening. Councilwoman Linda Barnes Caldwell, and we are here at 5 o'clock for the Planning and Development Committee meeting. Present, we have Councilwoman Mary Brown of the 3rd District, Councilman at Large Mike Brown, Councilman Ronald Brewer, President of the Gary Common Council, Attorney Renzo Williams, our legal advisor, and
Sarah Kavitas, Planning Director.
thank you. Okay. The items we have on the agenda this evening. CPO 2019-14, an ordinance amending Title 15 entitled Land Usage, Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner Mary Hubbard Bobo, 7734 Eder Avenue, Hobart, Indiana. The property is 3921 Tennessee Street, Gary, Indiana. CPO 2019-21, an ordinance amending Title 15 entitled Land Usage, Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner MVAH Partners, 9100 Center Point Drive, Suite 210, Westchester, Ohio. The property is 701 to 15 Broadway, Gary, Indiana. Our last one is CPO 2019-22, an ordinance amending Title 15 and Title 15 entitled Land Usage, Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner Frank Alaverdi, 637 East Ridge Road, Gary, Indiana. The property is 637 East Ridge Road, Gary, Indiana. Our first one.
Ms. Hubbard Bobo?
Yes. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good evening.
Hi.
Have a seat. Yes, please.
Okay. Yep. Hi.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good.
Sarah, would you like to give us an overview?
Sure. So Ms. Hubbard Bobo is petitioning to open a home-based daycare. So it's a daycare that's in a residential district. She does not live in the home, but it is a residential structure in a residential district, thus the special use permit. She is an experienced daycare owner. She has daycares in
Hobart.
There you go. And she came through BZA. It was approved at our March BZA meeting, March 12th, 2019. 64 notices were mailed, 24 were returned undeliverable, and we had that's right. We had none that came back opposed.
Would you like to share anything with us?
Well, basically, I'm here requesting special permit I want to get a general business license in order to open this home-based daycare. I've been in daycare business for several years, and I saw an opportunity to acquire a property in Gary and decided to open a daycare. I see a need in this city for quality child care, and that's why I'm, planning to open this daycare.
Do you own that property?
I do.
Okay. Any questions by any of the council members?
Yeah.
Many children? Well, I'm planning, going for a license of 12 to be licensed by the state of Indiana to take care of 12 children in the home.
So I have a question. When the planning committee meets, are there any digital photographs of the location and the inside, to give you an idea of what the facility is going to look like, what the children are going to see, what the parents are going to see when they come upon this address?
We do not have that. The building department would have that because there was a building inspection done and a fire inspection done. So they would have photographs. I have not included them, but in moving forward, I can include those.
In the future, whenever someone submits something like this, I would like a visual of it as well.
So of the street, where it is on the street, in the interior as well?
Right,
Okay.
right, and the surrounding, like the houses next to it, to give you some kind of idea of, you know, what the children will see when they get out of the car,
Okay.
what the parents see. It's a reflection of the business itself.
So more focusing on the outside?
Outside and inside. I mean, my position is every room that exists, we need to see the toilet, see all those things that the children are gonna come in contact with, the staff is gonna come in contact with. So we have a real good idea of what this facility is for and what it does.
Okay.
You know, is it ADA compliant? I mean, are we, you know, where are we at on some of these things? You know. So
The
that's.
BZA doesn't ask for anything like that.
They do, they ask for a site plan, and most of them, they get the address ahead of time, and so most of them go to see the
They've had
neighborhood.
opportunity to see it.
Yeah, so most of them go and look at the property, in advance of approving it, just because, yeah, they have that, I guess they have the same idea. But I think that that's a very good point, and that I'm happy to include that in the future.
And, you know, that would be
Yeah.
important, you know, how they advertise, you know, they're advertising, is there a sign in the yard? I mean, those kind of things, we just want to know how it's identified, because there are residents in the neighborhood, and if they're welcome in this, we want to make sure that, you know, the business is a welcome site too as well.
Yep.
And the safety of the children.
I actually do have photos. Had I known that was required, I know we're just, you know, planning in the future to do that.
Right.
But I do have professional business sign that has been placed, and the daycare is totally remodeled,
Right.
renovated, and, you know, it's fully ready to operate.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely, I do have photos, but of course, I don't have them
Okay.
I commend you
with me.
for that.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's our responsibility from the city's perspective to have that on record. It's great for her to have the photos, but I think we should have something as well.
Sure.
Okay? Thank
I
you.
agree. I think that's good.
Thank you, Councilman.
I will add that as a requirement, going forward.
Yes.
Yep.
2 questions. What are your hours of operation?
6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday.
Okay. And the signage that you say you have a sign that's made up?
Yes.
Have that got approved also through,
Has not been approved yet because she has not, we usually do that when she does her general business license. So she has to go through this process, and then she's got her general business license all filled out, ready to go. So we'll take a look at her sign that. But she will have to be within the sign ordinance.
okay.
I have a question.
And last, this
Go
last
ahead.
question, and, well, I guess you'll come back to that when we get to, you go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you, were there houses on the side of you?
Yes, there's 2 residents on each side. This property is actually the third from the corner on the east side of the street. The property directly adjacent to the right of me is, you know, there's a family that lives there. And just to the left of me, it is a vacant property that is owned, and the property is maintained by an owner. So she doesn't have a tenant right now, but the property, she keeps it maintained, lawn cut, and keep it in order. So it's not like a vacant, abandoned property, but no one's living there right now.
I was worried about the parking.
Okay, well, it's just street parking. Yeah, it's just street parking. There's no driveway or anything like that, so it's, you know, just street parking.
So you all will work out something so it doesn't?
Yes,
okay.
yes, you know, because preferably, I was actually asked that when I came to the original meeting, and it is a safe drop-off spot, like right in front of the property for the parents and the children, because, you know, they will be just dropping off, not staying. I'm hoping that it's just where they just drop them off and kind of keep it moving. Now, I do see your point where if there's 2 or 3 parents at one time, that could be a little bit of a congestion, but, you know, as I said, right now, the property to the left of me is not, is vacant.
So there's no drive on the property at all?
No driveway.
Front or back?
No.
So that does become a concern with me also.
Okay.
For other daycare that I've tried to come to see, I've tried to make that a point of safety, more or
Right.
less, making sure it's not an inconvenience to any resident, because myself and wife operates a daycare, and we make that as a point where we did not interrupt the flow of any other residents there. We know that several parents can come at the same time.
Yes.
Some parents do come in and, you know, they
Stay
wanna play with the
around.
kids and talk with you and at the time, and that can become an issue there with residents, so we don't wanna disturb the neighborhood at the same time. too.
Right.
But you said there is a vacant home.
Yeah, the property just to the left of me is vacant. There's no, currently no resident. And actually, I'm interested in purchasing that property. The current owner is open to selling it, but we haven't been able to agree on a price at this point. So my future goal is to acquire that property as well.
Mr. Chair. So we certainly want businesses to be successful in our community. We just want to go about it in a very professional way
Of
to
course.
protect you as well. So will there be a play area in the rear of the house?
Yes.
Is it fenced in?
It
Those
is.
kind of things?
There's a 6-foot fenced-in backyard. I did include a, yeah, this
Yeah, I
little
saw it.
landscaping, yeah, a little
There
drawing.
you go. The
of
backyard.
the backyard. But it's, you know, I don't have the exact square footage of the
Okay.
backyard
Okay.
right off the top of my head, but it's a large backyard. The
Since
back-
50 by 80.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah, you
okay.
said that, yeah, it's that. It's that.
Okay.
I saw
I
it.
did that a while ago.
Yeah.
But, however, it is a 6-foot fenced-in backyard, with a locked gate, a gate at the rear to the alley,
Right.
and a gate just the left of the property. So yes, I do plan on adding a play yard, a playground in the back, as my daycare that I have in Hobart, it has an adventure tower,
Right.
which includes like 2 swings, a slide, and a clubhouse for kids.
One other question, with the safety of the children, will there be cameras
Yes.
in the area? That's
Yes.
another question, you know, because that has really been a plus for us as far as documenting things that occur.
Yes.
Could you tell me where?
Well, currently I use a 10 secure monitoring in my current daycare in Hobart,
Okay.
and right now actually I have the 10 secure cameras inside at the property on Tennessee Street. I don't have outdoor cameras
Okay.
currently, but that is in my plan to do outside cameras as well.
Well, I wouldn't be a good person right now if I didn't ask Councilman Smith's question about the.
Just predator.
Yes. Have you checked about your child predators in the area?
I have, and
Okay.
actually that was a question that came up when I first came to the zoning, the very first meeting. And so that prompted me to do a lot of research. So there are no registered sex offenders in the immediate area. I don't have I have some notes in my pocket, but yeah, there's
But you
none
have
on my
searched.
block, but I have done the research. I also researched the number of licensed child care homes within a certain radius of the property. I want to say that when I looked on the Indiana findchildcare.gov website, I want to say there's 9 licensed child care homes within 9 within a 1-mile radius, and I want to say there's 4 within a half-mile radius. And of those 9, I think there's, and I'm also a past quality child care provider. I'm sure you're
Yes.
familiar with that. And so at this property, I'm going to go for at least a level 3 past the quality level. And when I did the research for the number of daycares within a 1-mile radius, I want to say there was none that had level 4 accreditation, and maybe 2 that was level 3 accredited. So I feel like there's a market for me, you know, being a past the quality child care home to, you know, get the highest level quality of care for the kids.
Okay. You've done your research.
Yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
Any question?
Well, we will see you May the 8th.
Public
Public.
comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any questions from the audience?
Comments?
Comments? No?
Staff.
You gonna forget Mr. Wacky?
You didn't want to say anything.
He's buying some property.
It was recommended for approval by BZA,
Okay.
so that's my recommendation.
Okay. We'll see you May the 8th at 6
May.
p.m. at the Genesis Center.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
very much.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Okay. CPO 2019-21.
Is that Mr. Alverdi?
No, it's MVAH.
MVH? Oh, I'm sorry. I would like you to do it.
Okay. 701
MVH Properties is in coordination with the Indiana Housing Community Development Authority, the redevelopment department, the community development department putting in a housing development on the corner of 7th and Broadway. Current landowner is Gary Redevelopment Commission. They are seeking a variance to allow for residential units to go on the first floor of the building. According to the zoning, which is B2, residential units are not allowed on the first floor of the building. However, they want the building to be ADA accessible, so they
Could you
are,
slow, excuse me, I missed you.
Slow down,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
I missed you, please. Go ahead, one more
so
time.
they are putting residential units on the first floor of the building. Those units will be ADA accessible.
Okay.
So according to the code, in a B2 district, residential is not allowed on the first floor. So that's why they are seeking a variance. This came to the Board of Zoning Appeals in March, and it was recommended for approval.
So I'll speak on behalf of the developer. They had a purchase option on the site. This is the site of the old Memorial Auditorium. Redevelopment Commission got it via tax sale, I think 4 years ago. It had been lost, someone bought it, and it fell to tax sale. We've been holding it since. This group, MVH, came to the city, and as Sarah mentioned, through the state, got a Moving Forward grant, which was a special housing program only available to Lake County, and this was in the wake of what happened in East Chicago with the lead on their
Right.
site. East Chicago was awarded a project, and MVH was awarded a project here in Gary, which actually scored the highest. This would be 38 units of various mixed income. Some of it, all of it, I guess, affordable, all of it at median income, at various levels above and below. These are mostly singles. This is probably going to be geared more towards seniors. It came to the Redevelopment Commission about a year ago, and again, they have an option on the site. They've worked with Faith Farms to incorporate some community farming and a greenhouse on site. This is a net zero energy project, so this will be the first one in Indiana to have something like that. As Sarah mentioned, the variance would be for some ADA accessible units on the first floor. In addition, there's going to be some common space, like a co-working space and commercial space as well. And that's about the extent of what I know about the project. I know that Peter, the developer, was on his way from Ohio, and Lord knows what can happen on I-65 between here and there, so that's my guess.
Did you say this was the old Memorial Auditorium?
Yes. Yes.
So you're gonna demolish that, that's still standing?
We are, we put the Redevelopment Commission request to bid for that demolition. We'll see what comes back cost-wise. A few years ago, you may remember when the Ambassador apartments were torn down. Some properties along Broadway were as well. We worked with IDNR, the State Historic Preservation Office, to sort of go through a survey of everything downtown. And this was one of the ones that they delisted, saying it was too far gone, which is unfortunate. And I think the building commissioner probably has that paperwork. But
That is unfortunate.
we've
I had
asked.
my high school graduation in that building.
Hey, I know, it's been a while.
Yes, I think that, you know, and I think that the planning department would probably agree that a lot of these could have been saved at some point, and they just were left
Yeah.
unsecured or not mothballed or whatever. And so that's why we're working hard to kind of catch up on the city church, and we don't want the same peril there.
Yeah,
You know, we have a lot of beautiful buildings, and they're acknowledged as such, but there's not really a preservation effort to support them, which is unfortunate. So.
that is unfortunate.
But to that end, we've asked to put, we have Cedric in the demolition department working with some staff to make sure we incorporate some of the pieces of the auditorium into the new building, and we preserve some of the moldings and brickwork and
Really?
holiday stuff. Yeah, so we can use it on a future project.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go
So
ahead.
I'm trying to get clear. You're trying to approve the variance for 701 to 715 Broadway.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
that's the.
Which has already been built, that location?
Across the street from that.
Also across the street, not the one that's built on the,
No,
on the
that
west
one.
side? So you
No.
wanna do it across the street? Okay,
Correct.
all right. You don't have any information about the one across the
I
street?
don't have
Okay,
any
all right.
information. I know that
That's
started
what
in
Okay.
Yeah, I
2012.
So this is the.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were
No,
talking about.
that's
So
probably
since
less
you
than that.
said
No,
it's
that's
the whole
Okay, so
one,
you're talking
yeah.
about the one on the east side of the street?
Yeah.
Okay,
just
okay,
land.
I'm with you now.
Correct.
All right, just want to double check that.
So how long is it gonna take? When do they expect that this project?
They said a 12 to 18 month build, and they'd like to start this fall.
Okay.
But depending on how early the winter breaks, that makes so much sense.
Councilman
So
Moore?
financing and everything is in order?
They have all their financing in order. I believe the Community Development Department contributed home funds, some of our HUD money. And the Redevelopment Commission is contributing by taking care of demolition and some road work and infrastructure, but not the project itself.
Are you looking at some more projects similar to this in the downtown area?
Maybe in the downtown area, you know, this is a nice project because it's singles and it sort of has sort of a niche. I think when you put housing downtown, you want to be really careful about the mix and oversaturation of certain things. That is a commercial corridor, so you want to get the density up at the cost of the commercial corridor, so that's sort of a balance.
So are you considering like mini malls like what's in the Midtown area?
Right
Yeah.
now, you know, you want a little bit more pedestrian oriented than that, right? We're looking at building around the train station. As a TOD, I know that GPTC has come with us with some ideas on how to build around their bus stops and build around the train station. GHA is going to build on some density on that side of Broadway and toward the Horace Mann, building off of what they have. So the idea, yeah, in short, yes, to bring density up.
The Horseman Apartments you're referring to?
The Hope Six
Hope
houses.
Six Falls, yeah.
Yeah.
And how about that building on Washington Street, right across the street from the charter school? It's right up.
You
right
mean the
there.
furniture store?
Yeah, that building, yeah. What are you guys doing with that one?
It's a county building. It's a county building. The furniture store down south by.
Yeah, right before you get
The
to
new
that.
21st Century Charter School,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's owned by Lake County. I'm not sure what the plans are.
So I hope we can try to work some kind of deal. I hate to see those children coming out of school,
Yeah,
continually
we've had,
looking at that. That is very.
right on the corner there too, I think it's 8th.
Yes, it is.
We did 2 demolitions maybe 3 or 4 years ago for that very reason, adjacent to it.
Right.
And that's when there was somebody working with the counties that were interested in some of the signage that was there, how to acquire it. And I know that it was one of Cedric's, you know, sort of high priority
Right.
ones for that same reason, so I
Okay.
agree.
Just wanted to know.
So how far up to Broadway? Does this come all the way up to Broadway at the?
Right, yeah, right on the corner. So you'll have the O'Bannon building on one corner, this will be on one, and across the street is that one that's almost finished presumably.
Okay.
So it'd be right up, it would maintain sort of the cityscape, right? So it'd be set back to 15 feet or whatever, right, all sidewalk up with storefronts along Broadway.
And there's no indoor parking, all parking is outdoor.
I believe so, yeah.
So are you gonna provide a parking lot adjacent to this?
There's a parking lot that's sort of built in on the Massachusetts Street side.
Right.
And you'll see somewhere on here it has parking requirements, 38 spaces.
Right.
They're providing 50 and 3 accessible spaces.
I'm pretty sure there'll be security cameras and things like that in
Yes.
this area as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
Then they're doing a solar array as well.
Right.
north end.
Yeah, if I can just
Sure.
contribute a little bit, because they did already come through site plan review, and then they came through the Board of Zoning Appeals, obviously, so they've worked with us at several different levels already. And I think as Joe mentioned, it's gonna be net zero, so it's going to be, the goal is to have it powered entirely by solar energy. Part of ICDA's whole moving forward program through which this was funded was to create energy efficient, sustainable housing. So there's a lot of elements of that kind of baked into this. The solar element, obviously, but also they want to essentially reduce car dependency. That's one of the goals of the project. So that's part of why it's in the downtown corridor. It's close to the train station. It's on the bus line. The developer is actually working with GPTC to put one of the BRT stations right outside the door. It's going to have what they call a bike library, where residents can take out a bike. They are looking at a lot of options to make it accessible to people with cars, without cars, who ride the bus, who walk.
Is a common day room included in this?
believe so, yeah.
And what about exercise for like aerobics?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Okay. Well,
I
Sarah
actually, I
can-
knew that
yeah,
one, yes.
okay.
Okay, good. We want our people healthy.
Yeah, this will be a good project,
Right.
and, you know, the developer has a very, very good reputation.
Okay.
The references checked out in Sterling.
So this is going 100% green off the grid?
Mhm.
Oh, this is nice. First in the state.
Yeah.
So can we sell it back to NIPSCO what's left?
NIPSCO.
Have them on us. Okay.
So this future solar field, right now, it's gonna be a solar field. They're actually seeking funding for a second phase of this project that would put in an additional building, a second building,
Yeah.
that would face 7th Avenue. And if that were to be the case, they would move the solar field to the top of that building, so.
So you said 38 units?
In the one that faces Broadway, yes.
Okay.
And how many
If they do a
floors?
second building,
I
they're
see down
looking
there,
for something
what,
the same
parking,
as
two,
Compton.
38 parking
Sorry.
spaces.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I think there are several problems with this proposal. Having the requirement that they have commercial space on the first floor is not only desirable for the rest of the community, but it's almost unprecedented to have the residential on the first floor in these commercial applications. I can think of one example in our city which would highlight the problems that this creates, and that's a building right across the street from the baseball stadium. I think it's on Pennsylvania. No, not Pennsylvania. It might be. Do you know the building I'm talking
The
about?
Dalton?
Pardon?
The Dalton?
No,
the
it's
brown
it's-
one, right?
Where is it?
The brown one, right across the.
Right
Yeah.
across from the baseball, right across from the baseball stadium.
Oh.
And it's a two-story building, residential. I think it's run by one of these housing developers. But when you walk right by and you see the windows open right up to the street, and you see all of the curtains and stuff blowing
Yeah.
out on the street, it just looks terrible.
I know what you mean.
It looks
Yeah.
terrible.
Agreed.
And it's,
Make sure
and
you have
it's
lines.
almost exactly what they're proposing here, to have, instead of having a streetscape, so when someone's walking down the street, I'm talking, but you can,
You've
you
never
have a few
interrupted
minutes.
me.
So when you're walking down the street, and you've got these windows open right up to the street, it's not even separated by a grassy area, it looks very, very, as a matter of fact, go to other places and see where they do this, and you'll find that in no instance is it desirable. If it were separated by some grass or something, you could argue that point, but to have it right up to the street, and then and everyone walks by and looks right into the windows, I don't know what they're doing in there, I don't look, but
Yeah,
whatever
right.
it is, it's undesirable, and especially when we're trying to create, we've just been reading in the newspapers about that Gary is a retail desert.
That's not true. So why are we
No,
talking
it's in the
about it?
newspapers.
I
I'm
know,
saying
just
it's an
because it's in
article
the
in the
paper
newspaper.
doesn't mean it's true.
But I'm saying it is in the newspapers.
Doesn't
I
mean
didn't
it's
say it was
true.
true. I'm
Okay.
saying it was in the newspaper.
All right, good.
And the reason that they're saying this is because they simply feel it'll be more profitable for them to put subsidized residents right on the street. And I'm telling you, that we should not accept that. We should accept housing in our communities to be
There are
same
residential
standard
units on the
as
street.
other communities have. They don't have it like
I
this.
thought
Actually,
they
there's
said
one
handicap
issue.
accessible.
There's
What?
no,
I thought they
so
said
this-
handicap accessible downstairs.
So that's a
Isn't that what they
commercial
said?
they are. and
But
they
it's
also- and they
separated-
also
it's
face-
separated
they
by
face
grass.
inside. They don't face the street.
No.
Yeah,
Look
I mean,
at the
but it's
flag line.
separated by grass. It's not,
No.
it's not
But
the way it's not the way they've done it either on 4th Avenue or 5th Avenue, or the way they're doing it here.
That's Broadway.
So I think we should maintain the first floor for commercial use, and the developers simply have to, either they have to accept that, or they can take the proposal down the street or change it.
Okay.
Broadway, common space Broadway,
That's
residential
what he
units.
wants commercial at the bottom. Okay.
So they won't face.
So I say we can reject this, and I think the developers can come back with a better plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
the other thing I wanted to mention too, is the site that they're using is the site of the Memorial Auditorium. Now, the Memorial Auditorium is a memorial to World War I veterans who sacrificed for our country during the Great War. But it's also the site of a memorial to William Billy Rue, who was Gary's first hero. He died in 1914. He gave his life to save a teenage girl who was involved in a fiery auto crash. 10,000 Garyites attended his funeral, and they created a memorial for him right at that corner. So I think part of any proposal for that site should, number one, include a prominent memorial to the World War I veterans to replace the one that they're tearing down, and also a continuing memorial to William Billy Rue, who was Gary's first hero. And 10,000 people attended his funeral in 1914, which was probably everybody in the city. And I think it's a shame and it's an embarrassment, and it's like Philistines tearing down and having no reference for history, culture, art, just tearing it all down and putting up something that's entirely unacceptable, and then just give it to them because they're saying, oh, we're going to make more money if we put first floor residents. I think it's the council's missing an opportunity to stand up for the city instead of simply kneeling because some developer wiggles a couple of bucks, drops a couple of bucks out of his pocket. We shouldn't be groveling. We should be standing up for creating a great city, not settling for whatever they give us. Thank you.
We'll have Mr. Van Dyke put that in his notes. Any other questions, comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Will the developer be here for the meeting on the 8th?
Presumably, yeah.
We'd like for him to be here.
Yes,
We
at
appreciate
6
that.
p.m. at the Genesis Center.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
CPO 2019-22. Have a seat, please.
Hi. Good evening.
Overview.
So Mr. Oliverdi is proposing to put in a used car lot, used car dealership, and it is on Ridge Road. Sorry, I have it wrong. What's the address of your car lot?
6770.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a former retail site. It's abandoned. It has a very large parking lot, so he thinks it'll be a good use for this purpose. He was approved at the BZA meeting in March with a contingency, and the contingency was that he have a landscape plan that's approved by the planning director prior to receiving his general business license. So, because the primary concern from the residents was that the neighborhood, that this would be, it would create blight or a look of blight in the neighborhood. So that's why the BZA added the contingency that he has to have a landscape plan that's been approved. In order to receive a GBL, he has to have a GBL to do business.
The old township building.
Pardon me?
The old township building.
Oh, yes, sorry.
That's what that is?
Yeah. It's got that very large parking lot.
It's a 230 feet long in the Ridge Road and 110 on Virginia.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Okay.
And it's almost 15,000 square foot building, but we are using just office and some small space for the detailing cars. And I'm in this business over 40 years in Chicago and moving to Indiana. And, my son and my daughter we're going to keep going the business. And also, the last meeting was okay, and I ordered all the fence. I purchased all the fencing, camera system, and landscaping we're going to do outside. and
Bless you.
Thank you.
make it safe.
What type of vehicles do you plan on selling?
All kind.
Late
Most-
model, new model, or old, new,
Not late model, from 2010 up.
210?
Yeah. Because the area, we have to keep going to study what's potential is in the area, you know?
Well, you know, I certainly want us to, certainly want to see business coming to the city. But I want to make sure that this is what it says it's going to be. Because the last, like that car lot that we approved up there on Grant Street, that guy, if you pass by that, that is a mess.
That was Broadway.
Pardon?
Broadway or Grant?
No.
Broadway.
No, I'm that one too. I was gonna get to the one on Broadway. But the one on Grant Street by the car wash, by the speed,
I haven't seen that one. Okay, I'll go by that.
I go that way often
Okay.
and it looks a mess. Okay?
You're right, I live in that area.
Uh-huh. And also, you know, that one that's out in
On
Glen Park on
Glen Park
Broadway, it
on
is a
Broadway.
real dump.
By the church and
Right,
Chase
yes,
ATM?
yes. And so we need to make sure that whatever we're approving for these used car lots, that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because actually, as a council, we need to follow up with that one on 11th and Grant, and also that one out in Glen Park by the church. Those, because they're both, you know, they're both shabby, really shabby.
It won't happen mine.
Pardon?
It won't happen for mine. because
Well, that's what they
I used
said.
before,
Pardon?
I used to have a 40 years dealer. My shop is in Division.
Uh-huh.
Very nice, neat, clean, everything in order. It's not like with a lot of junky cars. There won't be any accident car or junk car in the yard. I'm not keeping too many cars in the front. I can put 20 to 30 cars only. I'm not going to overload it. To
Junk
make
it up,
Junk
right.
it up.
You said 20 to 30 you'll have on the lot?
Yeah,
Okay, will you be doing repairs on the lot?
no.
No?
Repair just those cars I buy it from auction, some little small detailing, changing tires or something. It's inside the building, not in the yard. I have plenty of room inside.
Question, what's the condition of the building that he's talking about, the inside?
Inside, perfect. I have to just clean them up. All the roof new, and inside is all tile. It used to be a grocery a long time ago.
Used to be a grocery.
Yeah, and it's very
Is this the old
clean.
township building?
Yeah, so I think that it was a grocery store, it was, and then before that.
The building is
it's been
very good
several
shape.
buildings. So I can,
Township building.
in order for him to get a general business license after he is, if he gets approved for this variance, in order to get a general business license, he'll be required to get a building inspection by the building department, a fire inspection, police background check, in addition to providing the landscape plan that will need to be approved in order for him to open. So if he does not pass all those checks, he can't open. So the building will have to be brought up to code if it's not, fire code and building code.
So after we vote on it, it's out of our hands at that point. You see, then the rest of the
Yep.
things go to the other departments.
Yep.
No one can come back and say to the council, this is, after you approve this, this is what was done, so we can see how it looks before it opens up.
What we can do is put a contingency
Yes.
here where we have him to come back, say, a year or 2 years, and we can see if the building is operating what he said it is. And at that time, we can still make a motion on it, because it's a temporary vote that we're giving him, like we have done in the past. Now, I know the one on 11th Avenue, State Sun, they sit underneath that contingency where they have to come in before us. If it's something he's not doing, he's not supposed to be doing, we need to deal with it at the time. But the
Right.
one on Broadway, we did not do that. And he never once put the first car out there, so that's a problem all by itself, where we need to contact building
Okay.
department to deal with that individual.
All right, Mr. President.
Yes.
Okay.
So that will be my recommendation. We put a 2-year contingency in it, where we will review it to make sure that you're operating the way that you said you're gonna operate in this petition. Yes. So that'd be my amendment.
Okay.
I would add to this.
Yeah, okay.
Questions?
Yes, I do. Number one, I think the point made by Councilman that when a proposal is brought to get to the Gary Common Council for approval, it should be far along. We actually pay our staff considerable salaries to make sure that the petitions are complete before they come to the council. In this instance, I had no trouble counting 44 spaces, even though the petitioner and the staff said, oh no, there's only going to be 20 to 30 spaces. But anyone can count the spaces on this, and it's 44. So that's either 50% more than is represented, or over 100% more than is being represented. Also, the council has the responsibility to make sure that when businesses open up, they meet the standards, the community standards that we expect. For instance, you can see as a second thought, the petitioner made put in some hash lines and said this is landscaping, but that's not part of the application. And as a matter of fact, as has been testified by the professional staff of the administration, we're going to come back with a plan. And I'm telling the council that we've got an opportunity before you pass these. I hate to see these petitions be chased down the street after you've already passed them. This is an opportunity for the council to say, bring us not a sketch that looks like you did it on a napkin in a restaurant, but some sort of professional rendering of it. And the staff should be able to verify that this is what the building permit is going to say. Not saying, oh, we're going to meet with him later and maybe he'll take us out to lunch and then we'll okay whatever he says. So I'm begging the council to hold your responsibility as something important instead of simply saying, well, staff will take care of it. If this is the quality of the work that's being submitted for your approval, then I'm just very embarrassed for our city. Thank you.
So, I kind of am in agreement with Mr. Nowacki right now for some reason. I don't know why. But so, can I ask why he hasn't furthered along?
Sure. So I think that historically, just for the record, I have not been the greatest friend to used car lots in the city.
Okay.
But this one, I am willing to kind of give him the chance to prove himself, simply because I think in the past it has been the contingencies for following up on whether or not these used car lots are working to what their variance is required of them. It has been placed on the council. That onus has been placed on the council. The council has provided those contingencies. My thought was, in writing this ordinance, was placing the contingency on putting the onus on staff to essentially check up and make sure that he has a plan and provides a plan. That way I thought it would be easier. It would be one person's responsibility. It would be the responsibility of my department to follow up and make sure that he's provided a plan that is acceptable. If he doesn't provide a plan that's acceptable, he can't open the business. So that seemed like a pretty clear-cut way for me to kind of point a finger at myself to say, you're the one who this is on. So I think that speaks to the issue of who's going to follow up and who's going to make sure. If
So he
doesn't
hasn't had his inspections and all that?
No, because he hasn't gotten his variance. And so in terms of the process, he's not going to hire a landscaper to do landscaping unless he knows that he can open his business. And again, like I've said, I'm normally have been a pretty tough opponent of these types of businesses, and I don't think that doing this shows that I'm not. I think that it shows a realistic expectation of what you can expect from a small business owner. If he doesn't get this variance, he won't be able to open the business. If he doesn't know that his business will be allowed to open via zoning, he's not going to purchase his fencing or hire a landscape architect or those types of things. So I think that there's a way to realistically place expectations on the business owner that result in the you know, that, where we get an end result that makes everyone happy. That's my
So
opinion.
instead of 2 years, can we do 6 months? Because in 6 months, I can see what he's done. If he hasn't done anything, we can stop that. Okay. Do you all agree or what? I mean, say something.
Well, I
think
don't
historically
need
never
to
done
say
less than a
anymore, because
year,
I've already said
You-
what
you
I
said-
think
yeah,
about
well-
these used car lots that we've approved in the past that look, I mean, they look so junky. And no, I don't know if either one of them had a contingency in them, but it appears to me that no one's gone back and looked at them. And I meant to talk to you guys about that one in Glen Park on Broadway. I mean, it is really junky.
Well, I don't wanna.
And the one on 11 by the car wash is not.
Well, I don't wanna put that full responsibility on Sarah, so in 6 months, he should be able to.
Historically,
Mhm.
since my tenure, you've never done one less than a year,
Okay,
because it may not even be time feasible
Okay.
for a 6-month period. It may not even be possible from the
get it
time
done.
you approve to get all this certification.
Okay.
So a year has
A year?
historically been the minimum.
okay.
Okay.
So we're a year.
That makes sense with the general business license is valid for a year. So that would make sense also with that timing. In order to get the general business license, he has to do this required work. And then in order to renew it, he would have to prove that the work is kept up.
So, Madam Chair, so I have a question. I heard you make a comment about your concerns about used car lots. And I also heard our councilwoman complain about the conditions of the lot. So what can you do from your standpoint, your department, to make these things that we have concerns about on 11th Avenue and on Broadway, what can your department do now?
Well, I think the biggest thing to do is to report any violations to 311 so we can have code enforcement go out there. That's the number one, most immediate thing that you can do. Is if they're in violation of the zoning code, if they're in violation of any code in the city, we can go out there and cite them and ticket them. That's the primary recourse at this point. That's why I wrote this ordinance differently than we have in the past. The ordinances in the past that have dealt with these issues the contingencies have been added by council. Whereas in this one, I added the contingency that it's on the planning department to approve of all of these improvements and to verify that he's actually going to make these improvements before he's even licensed to open.
So, okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you. We'll see you in a year. I'm sorry. We'll see you Tuesday.
So Wednesday, I can call you tomorrow and give you the details.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wednesday,
And also I have a-
Wednesday, May 8th.
2 months ago, I called the water department for the hook up the water. They came and they said the valve is broken in the street.
I'll give you a call tomorrow and we can deal with all of this.
Okay, thanks.
Okay? Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay.
Anything else?
This concludes the planning meeting for today. Thank you so much.